Hello, my name is Hyun. I'm a media artist and a virtual reality researcher. Today, I'm excited to present a study I conducted with Professor Bernhard Riecke at Simon Fraser University titled Space Echo 2.0, Exploring Social Interaction Through Communication Barrier in VR. And let me ask you a question. What if by creating a barrier, we could actually bring people closer together? This is a paradoxical question at the heart of our work. In this presentation, I will discuss how my artwork, Space Echo, developed into a research project discussing how constraints influence communication. And I'll guide you through the structure and experimental process of Space Echo 2.0. And to begin with, let's watch a short video of Space Echo. What you're seeing now is the scene that participants encounter inside the virtual space of Space Echo. So Space Echo is a multiplayer VR experience for two participants wearing a VR headset with microphone. And they appear as astronauts and begin by facing each other. And the core mechanism of Space Echo is the more the player talks, the further they drift apart from each other. And the jetpack they're wearing is powered by their voice. And this jetpack pushes the player's avatar the opposite direction they're facing. So why would we design such a counterintuitive experience? It starts with a simple truth shared across cultures. There's a Korean proverb that says, people don't recognize the advent of being, but recognize the absence of being. Similarly, in English, there's a saying that says, absence makes the heart grow fonder. In other words, we often realize the true value of something only after when it is no longer there. A few years ago, during the pandemic, as we all experienced the period of isolation, we realized that we had taken in-person communication for granted. And this unique period made us appreciate the true value of connection through its absence. To fill this gap in physical interaction, many platforms and companies attempted to simulate the real world's communication inside virtual space. And social VR is one of the attempts. And platforms like VRChat, iSpace, Mozilla Hub enabled us to interact with others through avatars inside virtual space. However, due to its physical constraint, such as the weight of the VR headset, external noise, or graphic performance, perfectly replicating reality inside virtual space is very challenging. If so, rather than trying to compensate for technology's limitation, we propose a different approach that actively leverages them. Our approach is built on three key ideas. First, from theater. We draw on German playwright Bertolt Brecht theory of distance effect. Brecht believed that perfect immersion in theater could prevent an audience from critical thinking. And he used intentional disruptions such as breaking of fourth word or sudden use of soundtrack. He tried to prompt the audience to step back and reflect on society. This led us to ask, how could we apply this distancing to VR, a medium defined by immersion? And second, from the psychology, neuroscience, research by Matthew Lieberman and John Cacioppo shows that our brains are fundamentally wired to connect, and the social pain activates the same brain region as physical pain. The famous cyberball experiment demonstrated that even in simple virtual ball tossing game, being excluded is genuinely distressing. This finding confirmed our hypothesis. The drive to connect is so powerful that it persists even in virtual space. And finally, from myth, the story of Echo and Narcissus. Echo can only repeat the last words spoken by others, and Narcissus is trapped in his own reflection. And it's a timeless metaphor for miscommunication and the ways language can sometimes create more distance instead of closing it. During the first exhibition of Space Echo, we saw these ideas come to life. And at that time, at first we didn't reveal that this was a multiplayer experience. And we were able to observe something interesting. So let me show you. So some people unexpectedly discover that there's someone else inside this virtual space, and despite this frustration of being pushed away from each other, they actively started to find ways to get closer to each other. For example, they ask, what do you see? And some people say, oh, I see a shape that looks like a roast chicken. And they also used hand signals and adjust voice volume to find ways to get close to each other. And they remained, and also I recognize that those who realize that this is a multiplayer experience are more 2 or 3 times more likely to stay longer inside this experience compared to those who thought they were alone. And this observation led to the following research question. Can intentional communication barriers in social VR help increase users' desire to connect and foster meta-reflection on communication? And we hypothesize that intentional disruption in communication inside a social VR app can foster deeper connection and provoke meta-reflection on communication. To experiment with this hypothesis, we designed and developed an experimental social VR experience called Space Echo 2.0. Space Echo 2.0 shares the same core mechanics as the previous version, but it introduces two different movement conditions, controller powered and voice powered condition. And in the controller powered condition, we use the VR controller's trigger button to move the avatar forward, and in voice powered jetpack condition, which is a reverse jetpack condition, we use voice input to push the avatar the opposite direction they're looking at. And also, I added a question system. When two avatars get close to each other, a prompt appears on their screen to provoke conversation. And these prompts were inspired by Arthur Aron's intimacy building questions. So there were examples like, what's the most adventurous things you have ever done? What is one moment in times you will never forget? Some questions like this. And both users respond to the prompt one after another. And once they're done, they have to collide again and repeat this set of questions. And if they keep talking for a certain amount of time, fireworks light up in the background as the visual feedback or reward. And afterwards, they unlock new questions. And for technical implementations, we use MetaQuest 2, and we built this in Unity using Photon Fun. And for character design, I created 3D character, and since the overall concept for this was astronaut who moved with sound, I added the trumpet shape or megaphone shape exhaust pipe to the jetpack. And I rigged the character and mapped the user's hand and head gestures to the character. And for the avatar locomotion, instead of user jetpack condition, teleportation, or motion-based tracking of hands and head, I created a hybrid system combining two inputs. The avatar's direction follows the VR headset rotation, and movement is powered by the user's voice volume. Additionally, the user's voice is not just a means of movement, but also leaves a visual trace. Using speech to text AI, the user's spoken words are converted into 3D text like a contrail of an airplane, and the spoken sentences are written in the void universe of Space Echo. And the virtual world of Space Echo is more than a backdrop, and it is a symbolic landscape. Participants enters to this dreamlike, abstract, surreal space filled with floating objects, and by approaching to this object, they can trigger soft whispering sounds. And this whispering sound were generated from text generator AI. I put the first sentence of Echo and Narcissus story to text generator, and it created a story for me. And I also put these sentences into text-to-speech generator, and it created audio files for me. And at the same time, I used the same sentences to image clip-based image generator model, and this model created these abstract images. And These images were converted into 3D object using 3D object generation AI. And I combined these two, this whispering audio file and object, and place this object inside the virtual space of Space Echo, so the participants can approach and collide to this object and trigger sound and hear what we used to create this object. And this is the final version of Space Echo 2.0.
What is highlights?
It's hard to recognize, but this little white dot is another participant, and this person is trying to get near to that little dot by answering the question. And since it moved backwards, this person had to check the position of the other participants and turn around to move toward it and turn around back and forth to navigate toward it. Keep a little bit, they're getting closer, closer. And finally, they're close to each other. And they activated another question. With the completed Space Echo 2.0, we conducted more structured user study to test the effect of communication disruption. So we recruited 30 participants, 15 pairs, and used within subject design, and in which each pair experienced both conditions. Each session lasted about 10 minutes, and during that time, those pairs explored the space and had to respond to the given prompts. And the order of the condition was counterbalanced to control the sequencing effect. And after the conditions, each condition, participants completed a short interview to provide a qualitative feedback on their experience. And I asked some questions like, which VR condition felt more natural to you and why? And did you feel more connected to your conversation partner in one condition? Questions like this, asking about two different conditions. And here we have the key findings for the experiments. First, discomfort sparks strategy. The most important finding was that discomfort is not a barrier to communication, but rather work as a catalyst for new forms of new strategies to communicate. And initially, many participants found this reverse jetpack condition uncomfortable and awkward. Despite this discomfort, most of them adapted by developing new communication strategies such as remaining silent, using hand gesture, and adjusting voice volume. For example, one participant said, I tried different ways to talk, and then I spent some time to find a way to move. Like, for example, if I put a request in the way it would move backward or forward, and I tried different volumes to get close to my partner, and some use hand signals to tell others to talk or stop. Next, emotional ambivalence and diverging outcomes. Interestingly, emotional responses varied widely despite all participants experiencing the same condition. Some found discomfort enjoyable and said it made them feel closer to strangers, and some others reported that it was fatigue and disconnecting. And these ambivalent responses shows that constraints do not always lead to positive outcomes, and that users' experience quality is affected by various factors. The positive reaction said, I was able to have a good personal level conversation with my partner since we both were more focused on the difficulties. We forgot for a second that we were strangers. And other participants said it was a strange interaction, and trying to figure it out together broke the ice, and it made them cooperate more. However, the negative reaction said, I think we were struggling a lot, and I think that lack of connection ended up making me feel tired and fatigued and not really wanting to engage. And another person said, I did not want to continue the conversation because talking would cause me to move away. And lastly, a reflection on communication. Some participants noted that experience felt similar to digital interaction, such as those on social media. These reflections suggested that space echo too can function as meta experience, prompting participants to critically reflect on nature of communication. For example, this person said, I think it made me appreciate more on the actual experience since we are hard to get to each other in the reverse experience. And it's a really nice metaphor for digital communication where we don't really see each other. We are all strangers and things get lost in space. And however, this study has several limitations. It is a small-scale qualitative study limited to space echo. And also, it does not control for individual differences such as relationship intimacy, personality, and VR experience level. Future research should aim to incorporate behavior data collection, such as eye tracking, speech volume, and proximity, and for more comprehensive approach, comparative experiments on different types of disruption should be done. And in particular, it will be important to identify how a participant's personality, relationship closeness, and prior VR experience each shape the interaction result. Additionally, we hope to explore how these creative design approaches can be applied to domains like games, remote learning, or mental health. For the conclusion, today we live in an era where we can connect anytime, anywhere through technology. But within that, we often experience deeper isolation and alienation. Our work suggests that the goal of social VR shouldn't be flawlessly imitate reality. By embracing limitation and designing for intentional friction, we can create experience that do more than that, just letting us to talk. They can make us think about how we talk and why we connect in the first place. Space Echo 2.0 is an experiment, but it is also a question. It asks us to consider that sometimes the most meaningful connections aren't the ones that are frictionless. They are the ones we have to work for. This is the reference. Thank you for listening.